Welcome to the Feed Your Family Tonight podcast. Do you dread hearing the question, what's for dinner? Whether you spend your days keeping up with toddlers, running kids to after-school activities, or juggling a career and family, getting dinner on the table can be a struggle for us all. I'm Mariefiebach, a business owner, wife, and mom of 4. I'm on a mission to build stronger families one dinner at a time, and I'm here with tips, tricks, and inspiration you need to feed your family tonight. Hello, friends. Welcome to the Feed Your Family Tonight podcast, episode 177. I'm your host, Mariefiebach. I'm so happy to be here with you today. And today we are going to talk about pantry cooking. Friends, I am in the middle of a really busy season of personal life, and pantry cooking is one of my coping mechanisms right now. It is how I can feed my family during this really busy time. So today I'm going to dig into 4 tips for helping you stock your pantry and do pantry cooking, especially during busy seasons of life. But before we get into those tips, I kind of want to start with how I define pantry cooking. For me, this is staples, the things that I keep in my house all the time. It may include my freezer, my refrigerator, definitely changes a little bit season by season. Things that are pantry cooking for me in the summer, like hamburgers and grilled chicken, are not pantry things for me in the winter, where I definitely get into like roasts and those type of things. So it's something that kind of changes season by season. But pantry cooking basically is meals that I can get together with ingredients that I keep in my house most of the time. Tip number 1 for doing pantry cooking is to get yourself a well-stocked pantry and a well-stocked freezer. In episode 99, I talk about my deep dive grocery shopping. And if you want to have a pantry that meets your needs, you need to stock up your pantry well. And I like to do this in a deep dive grocery shopping trip about once a quarter. I have a list of all of the things that you need to think about when you're doing a deep dive grocery shopping trip. That is in the Feed Your Family Tonight holiday planning guide. It's part of this really big comprehensive guide for large gatherings and the holidays. And in that is the information that I use as a checklist for deep dive grocery shopping. But things that I personally keep on hand is tortillas. Tortillas freeze really well. I also like to keep bread on hand. That also freezes well. Bread is not so good in the refrigerator. It will dry out, but bread in the freezer will last for a couple of months. So it's really, really handy. And during the summer, I keep hamburger buns in the freezer and my hamburger patties. I have a make-ahead hamburger patty recipe where I'll make a bunch of hamburger patties. And then for quick and easy meals, I just take them straight out of the freezer, take the buns out of the freezer, and I will toast them on the grill. And dinner is on table in minutes. During the winter, things that I like to keep is stuffing mix in like a box or a bag so I can make chicken stuffing casserole. I almost always have pasta in various shapes, including couscous and ramen, rice noodles, and gnocchi. I usually keep a few canned goods like hominy and beans, jarred pasta sauce, refried beans. I definitely always have canned salmon and canned tuna in my pantry. My friends Betsy and Kate did a podcast on tinned fish on the Dinner Sisters. I'll link to it here. And they talked about salmon patties. And Betsy said she took the salmon patty recipe and topped it with fried eggs and hollandaise sauce. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that just sounds divine. It's like salmon patties Benedict. So that is something where you can take something as simple as salmon patties from canned salmon and turn it into something really magical with pantry ingredients, because hollandaise sauce can be made from pantry ingredients. Eggs are something that you definitely want to keep on hand. That's definitely a refrigerator staple for me. To make the hollandaise sauce, you usually need a lemon, and I'm always going to have fresh lemons in my refrigerator and probably a bottle of lemon juice as well. So really, salmon patties hollandaise is a super pantry friendly meal. The other thing you want to think about is making sure that you've got like basic condiments, ketchup, mustard, mayo, soy sauce, fish sauce, vinegar. Jarred pesto is kind of a basic for me. Isn't always a basic for other people, but definitely is a basic for me. And then your freezer. I like to have basic meats. We get our beef from a local farmer, and so I usually always have beef. I try to buy chicken breasts on sale and keep those frozen in my freezer in bulk. Frozen shrimp for sure. Oh my gosh, there are 100 things that you can do with frozen shrimp that you can get on the table in 10 minutes or less. And frozen veggies, mixed veggies, corn, green beans. Frankly, I probably have tater tots and frozen French fries, especially during the summer. I'll keep a bag of frozen French fries in the freezer so that I can have those with my hamburgers. So tip number 1 is you want to make sure that your pantry is well stocked. But tip number 2 is something that you want to make sure that you're stocking your pantry with the right kinds of foods. So tip number 2 is look at the meals that you make frequently. What are the things that you're having every other week or at least once a month? If you are making something 1 to 2 times a month, those ingredients probably should become part of your pantry staples. I bet they naturally are. But if you can kind of bring it to consciousness, it's going to make your life a little bit easier. So when you are trying to think about pantry meals, think about the things that you are making frequently and start stocking those ingredients. If you want to add some fresh ingredients, well, friends, that is tip number 3. Because what fresh ingredients are you using weekly? To make pantry meals delicious, you want to be using something fresh. Now, I mentioned earlier lemons. My favorite fresh ingredient to have on hand to add a punch of flavor to just about anything is fresh lemons. A little bit of lemon juice or a little bit of lemon zest can take something as mundane as frozen green beans into something absolutely delicious. I will never forget, years ago, our family was participating in a service project where there was a local emergency shelter for homeless men in our area. And they fed these men every night. And then this facility had a place for them to put out cots, and they had fresh clothes and toiletry items and stuff. And people from our church were taking meals to feed the men during these deep winter months at this emergency shelter. And our little group was going to bring frozen lasagna, which was fine. And then they said, you need to bring a vegetable. And I'm like, oh, I'll bring green beans. No big deal. And so I got out big aluminum roasting pans and I put in, 5 or 6 bags of frozen green beans, salt and pepper, a stick of butter. And then I zested a lemon in each pan. And this is how I make green beans. I just put them in the oven. I cooked them up, got them warm. And the director of the program called me later and she goes, what was in those green beans? The men kept coming back for more and more green beans. They talk about these green beans. And I was like, it's salt and pepper and lemon zest and a little bit of butter. And she's like, they are amazing. If you ever come back, you have to make the green beans because they were so amazing. Well, it was lemon zest, friends. It is not fancy, but that little pop of fresh can take something really, really mundane and make it something absolutely delicious. In the summer, I like to keep a pot of herbs on my deck, and a little bit of fresh basil or a little bit of fresh thyme or parsley can really add a simple pop of flavor. In the winter, buy yourself a bunch of parsley, or if you like cilantro, buy yourself a bunch of cilantro, unless you are me and cilantro tastes like soap and you're not going to do it. Cilantro is very divisive. But if you like cilantro, by all means, add that as just a little pop of fresh. If you're not a cilantro fan, get some parsley. Green onions or scallions are one of my absolute most favorite ways to add just a little punch of something fresh. I used them a lot when I was doing food photography for my cooking segments on Cake TV. When I was doing those, the green scallions just kind of added a pop of color, and they added just something bright and fresh that can brighten up a quesadilla or a salad or some potatoes. But something bright and fresh can make a big difference. But the fresh ingredient doesn't have to be something vegetal. It could be like a little bit of cheese, nothing like a little grate of fresh Parmesan cheese that can take a pasta from something that is blah to something that is amazing. You could do an avocado, but one of my favorite tricks for pantry-friendly avocado is to buy a box of single-serving pre-made guacamole, because they have all of these little single servings that are cryovac, so they last for several weeks in your refrigerator. But a little dab of guacamole can take something really simple like a bean and cheese quesadilla and make it feel like something special. And again, if you get it in those pre-made little packages, it'll last for a few weeks, so you don't have to worry about having an avocado that is perfect ripeness. But avocados actually keep long in the refrigerator. If you can get them close to the perfect ripeness and then put them in the refrigerator, they will last a couple of weeks in the refrigerator. Another fresh thing that can add just a big pop of flavor and is really pretty pantry friendly is cherry tomatoes. You can buy them in a little tub in the produce section of the grocery store. Do not refrigerate them because they will get icky in the refrigerator. Keep them on your counter. They will last for several weeks on your counter. And then if they kind of start to turn a little bit raisiny, if they kind of start to dehydrate a little bit, they are still not lost. You can toss them with a little bit of olive oil, some hot pepper flakes, and maybe a little bit of oregano and garlic. Throw them into the oven and roast them, and then they'll burst and get all jammy. Add that to some pasta with a little bit of Parmesan cheese, and if you're real adventurous, get a little bit of anchovies in there. Oh my goodness, you have a delicious pantry-friendly pasta dish that is super easy to make. And again, from cherry tomatoes that are going a little bit bad. So cherry tomatoes can definitely add a pop of flavor as well. Tip number 4 is the key to having a pantry that works well and to have pantry meals that are easy for you is to keep a set of quote unquote base ingredients. I talked about base ingredients in episode 146, which was how to pick a recipe that your family will actually eat. The big thing with that podcast is you don't want to change too much at one time for your family. You want to kind of keep the same ingredients or the same flavors. And in order to deviate from that, you just want to make small little incremental changes so that your family doesn't think that a dish is weird, but it's something that's mostly familiar. And that base ingredient concept is the key to having pantry-friendly meals, because you can have base ingredients that are pushing kind of the Italian flavors, where you've got boxed pasta, you've got some shelf-stable gnocchi, you've got a couple of jars of pasta sauce, maybe some canned tomatoes. You keep fresh garlic, and that's kind of a fresh ingredient. You keep around a little bit of fresh basil in the summer, and that becomes your fresh ingredient. And it makes it easy to make all sorts of different dishes. You can add different proteins. You can add chicken. You can add beef. You could add sausage. But you have this base of pantry ingredients that you are using to make lots of different meals. And that is the key to quality pantry cooking. Friends, pantry cooking does not need to be complicated. It can be as simple as keeping pasta and a jar of pasta sauce and a pound of hamburger all on hand, and all of that can make a meal in just a few minutes. You just need to pay attention to what your go-to ingredients are already. Keep them well stocked in your house, and then look for new recipes that are based around ingredients that you are already using. And then always add a little something fresh. If you are doing that, you are well on your way to having an arsenal of pantry meals that makes getting dinner on the table faster and easier, especially in a super busy season. So I can't wait to hear what some of your pantry staples are and what kinds of things you are serving your family from your pantry. I want to get some new ideas. So share those in the Feed Your Family Tonight Facebook group, and we will talk about pantry cooking this week. For now, friends, I hope you are doing well. Take care.